It's Tig's night.
Yes, it is. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tig's Bits. Welcome to Tig's Tonight. I'm super excited for tonight's show. We've got a special one lined up, and I know that you all are going to freaking love this one. This is going to be good. We're going to stir the pot just a little bit. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. But look, before we dive in, let me catch y'all up a little bit on what's been happening over here at Tig's Bits, a little bit behind the scenes. First things first, I'm hitting the road in the morning. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am heading to Omaha, Nebraska to go and see my Fighting Tigers go for number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 would be great, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Yes, it would. At least for me, it would anyhow. So I don't know if y'all saw that game last night. Holy cow. One of the wildest endings to a baseball game I've ever seen at any level. Just if it can fall apart for Arkansas, God bless them. It does. It does. I almost kind of want to feel a little bit sorry for them, but it's Arkansas, so I can't. And I don't feel sorry for them. They were in our way. They were in our way, and look, got a car rented. I'm not going to put all those miles on my truck and all that stuff. I got a nice little car rented. We're going to get in it. Got my wife, my son. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to leave first thing in the morning. Got some cool places to stay. Still working on tickets. I'm still working on tickets, but hey, that's part of the fun, right? I've been to Omaha before. That will happen. Look, if you are a Tiger fan, and you're watching this, or you just want to contribute, the Tiger Ragtime Marching Band they are going to Omaha, baby. I know that y'all probably saw the video that I put out the other day of them. It went viral, basically. It's just crazy. That video just went viral, and they're trying to get some funds to go and raise a little bit of money because several of them are going. I'm not sure how many. If you're in the chat out there, Tiger Ragtime Marching Band, let everybody know. But I am looking forward to meeting up with them. A friend of mine has a new little ditty that he has made for them, so I can't wait to hear that. Gonna go see them at Rocco's. Gonna go do the shots, do all of the stuff, and it's gonna be a blast. And then after Omaha, however long that is, next Wednesday, I believe it's Wednesday, we turn right around and we are going to Houston to see the Astros and the Phillies play with a church group with our church. So a lot of fun summer stuff ahead. No live shows next week. I am going to be slightly busy after we finish this one here tonight, but don't worry. Got plenty of great content coming your way. So let me see, who do we have in the chat tonight? Paul Rogers. I see you, Paul. I see you, Paul. What is up? Terry Wayne Foster. What is up? Brother Terry. What is up? Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Travel to Boot. What's up? What is up, Amanda and Nathan? Good to see y'all. I hate that I'm not going to be at the event in Hammond this weekend, unfortunately, but I think I have a pretty daggum good excuse of why I'm going to miss it. I just got a text right before we went on the air from Austin asking me if I was going to be there, and I was like, dude, I want to be. That was the plan. That was the plan. Carl Dunn, what is going on, dude? What is up? Let's go. That's right. Let's go, Tigers. Travel to Boot. They're going to be on campus tomorrow, getting those good vibes. I love it. Josh, what's up with Jace Builders? Appreciate you coming in here, man. Yeah, we're about to stir that pot. No doubt. There's Austin. There he is. What's up, dude? What's up? Carl DeCat, I wish I could. This little Jeep that we've rented, not a lot of room in that sucker. I'm not going to lie. Oh, you are so welcome, Shara. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Shara. I'm so happy to help. It's been an amazing ride being on this little viral wave with you guys. It's you just never know when you should press record. I did. Here we are, and I can't wait to see you all again in Omaha. It's going to be awesome. It's awesome. Oh, there we go, Brian. What's up? Have about 15 going. Some are on the road now. Others are leaving bright and early. I freaking love it. Yes, yes. There he is. What's up, Hoss? What is up? Cajun Cooking with Hoss. Good to see you. Choo! Yeah, you know it. You know it. Travel to boot. Hold the rope, Tiggs. Hold the rope, baby. I'm going to hold it. I am going to hold it. So, yeah, after last night's game, I've had this in the back of my mind. If things could work out, that I would go and do this, and things have worked out. So, off I shall go. Look, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Y'all are already starting to show up and show out in the chat. I love it. I love it. I'm not going to waste any more time, though, because the crew that I am bringing in has been stirring up the food world for freaking real. There's no doubt. You've seen clips. You've heard the heat. And tonight they are here to talk about it. Let's bring on the folks from behind Stirring the Pot podcast. Barbecue Brand, what is up, sir? What is up?
Go. How you doing?
Go.
It's your boy Barbecue Brand, your favorite pitmaster's favorite pitmaster. How y'all doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Brandon D.
What's up? Oh, nothing much, man. Just happy to be here. It's going to be kind of interesting. Usually I'm the one asking the questions. Now I get to get interviewed. It's going to be a little bit different.
I know. I haven't been on the other side of the spectrum of this yet, really, myself either. So no worries, dude. This is just an easy conversation. We're just going to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to lob
that's
up
what
softballs.
it's all about, man. If we're talking about food, it's got to be fun.
Exactly. How can it be not fun at all? I love it. And then without any further ado, the straw stirring the drink, in my opinion, anyhow. Miss Casey P. What's up, girl? Yes.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
I love it. Good to see all of y'all. Appreciate y'all jumping on and doing this and fighting through a little bit of technical issues.
No, as always.
I mean, it's a podcast.
Yeah.
We do it the same, you know. You either use StreamYard or Riverside or whatever, but it's like every single dadgum time that you want to go, something happens, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
100%.
But that's part of it. That's part of it. We got everything rocking and rolling now. And look, I'm going to kind of just start right into everything. I mean, I think y'all would say this about yourselves a little bit. What happens when three loudmouths with really good taste stop biting their tongues? What happens when that happens? Well, that's what we're going to do tonight. And before we get that far into everything, because I know we're going to peel some onions back tonight. There's no doubt in my mind. I want to start here. Who met who first, and what made y'all say, "Yep, we're going to do a podcast together"?
Oh man, that story goes way back. So
way back.
Perfect. I love it.
So I met Barbecue Brand in college, and that was a fun. I used to work at a little crazy store in Lafayette, Louisiana, called Curious Goods, and yeah. It paid the bills. That's all I'm going to say. I could do homework and still have a decent job at the same time. But anyway, I met Barbecue Brand because he worked like in the same shopping center. And then I met Brandon D in college as well. So we all just came together and became really good friends. And yeah, well, I'm married to Brandon D, just in case. Yeah.
There's been some confusion about that, but yeah.
There's been some confusion. Caleb thought we were roommates.
We're a little old for that, so
Right? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Well, how long have y'all been married? And And who came first? Who did you know first? That you knew Brandon?
She knew
first? How'd that
Brandon. She
happen?
knew Barbecue Brand first.
Okay,
and,
okay.
We've been married for 10 years. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right,
So,
Yeah.
awesome.
so and I met Brandon. I met Barbecue Brand through my wife. So we just became friends. We all into cooking. So we just sitting around having conversations, talking about food, and like, hey, we should have a podcast. And it's like, yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So did y'all start doing podcasting first and then moved into doing some of the competitions and stuff, or did you compete a little bit and then be like, hey, we should do a podcast?
No, we started podcasting first, and the competition stuff came about because Brandon, a Barbecue Brand, does barbecue competitions. We've been going to those
Yeah.
with them for I don't know what be at least 4 or 5 years. Oh wow! So we've been to I don't know
It's
how
been
many.
five plus
Yeah.
years that I've
I don't
been
know how
doing
many. I
barbecue.
don't know how many we've been to of yours. I mean, I'd say at least a dozen probably.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
easy.
So,
Yeah,
So,
I'll say this really started, this started whenever we would all get together, and I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing competition barbecue for a long time now. But we would all get together and just start talking food, and we would just start talking and talking. And
Yeah.
we would get deep. We would get deep into these conversations, and every single time we got together and did this, I was like, man, I should cut on the camera, and we should have these conversations on camera. We never capture these conversations on camera because
Right.
we talk about everything. And then this happened for years, and then eventually we were like, you know what? It's time for us to cut the camera on and start
Yeah.
talking about these things.
precisely.
Yes. That's good. I'm glad that you did too. What was the first topic or rant that kind of had y'all really fired up and kind of made this happen? What was that rant that made you go, we got to do this?
I'll answer this. Sorry, B, I'm gonna answer this.
Go for it.
We
because
we were in Houston. I remember this very vividly. We were in Houston and we started talking about gumbo, and we started talking about how gumbo, the flavors are very deep, but the range of flavors are narrow, right?
That is a
Right.
very, very narrow flavor profile, because when we talk about gumbo, especially like a roux-based gumbo, we're not talking okra gumbo. That's a different animal to itself. A roux-based gumbo, which just roux, no okra, is not a very wide flavor profile. It's all on the savory side. You don't have any sweet, no acid, nothing like that. It's just really all savory flavors, and that's what makes it interesting. So the savory flavors are very deep, but it's not a very wide, but it's a very, very deep. It's probably, I'd say, one of the most savory dishes you can taste. It's pretty much all on the savory side. You get a little bit of that, even the onion sweetness doesn't cut through that roux, so it's just a very deep, deep savory flavor. So that was most of me and Brandon was talking about, just how narrow gumbo's flavor profile is, but how deep it is. It's all savory
Right,
side.
yeah.
You don't, if you think about some other type of dish, like let's say like Chinese food or Thai food or some Asian food, you got a really wide flavor profile. You got heat, you got sweet, you got salt, you got all these things, acid, fat, and all these things kind of balance out. But it's down the rabbit hole of food. Gumbo just goes very deep on the savory side. It's just an ultra savory dish, and that's kind of like the magic of making a roux gumbo. Is you make something that's so savory that's pretty much, it's just ultra savory. That's why I say don't add tomatoes to your roux gumbo, because you're kind of changing the flavor profile of that. You want to taste it. I mean, you could add it and it probably wouldn't taste bad. It probably wouldn't, but it would fundamentally kind of alter the dish, because tomatoes bring acidity and sugar.
All right,
Right.
we're not getting it. They gotta go subscribe. They gotta go subscribe to get all of that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But it's basically just you're gonna alter it. So that's the kind of the magic of the roux gumbo. It's just an ultra savory dish, and we're talking about that.
Yeah. So short answer. We were talking about gumbo.
But see, that's exactly what happened, though. You had to start dialing it in, and then there's
Yeah.
these different takes and what it'll do and the acidity of this and all that. No,
Yeah.
that's what But that's what makes y'all's food so dadgum good and why y'all are doing what you do. And those of you that do not know these beautiful people, they win competitions. Not only do they compete, not only do they talk about food better than anybody else out there, they also back it up by actually competing and winning. So, I mean, there's all
we've done,
of those
we've done
things.
pretty good.
You've
Yeah,
done really well. You've done
And
really
that-
well.
And that's exactly what you just said. That's exactly why we got into it. You know, like we talk this talk. We got to walk the walk. We got to make sure people understand that we know what we're kind of talking about a little bit. You know, now we're not saying we're the complete experts on this, but we can stir the pot a little bit. You know.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I've got a question to start to stir that pot just a little
Ooh.
bit. All right. So, speaking of food competitions and all of that, was there a moment where y'all realized that food competitions weren't just broken, but they were kind of becoming a little bit disrespectful?
Yeah, I mean, that's, man,
Told y'all I was going to bring the heat, gang.
that's gonna be a long story. I mean, that's
Listen,
We have plenty of time.
all of this started from, I told you, I've been doing competition barbecue for the past 5+ years now. So they've been coming along to my competition so that they can, see kind of what I go through on a weekend basis.
Sure.
Listen, if you haven't been disrespected in a cooking competition, you haven't been cooking long enough. That's what I
Yeah.
say.
No.
And it happens, and it's due to the lack of knowledge of your judges and
Right.
the lack of knowledge for the people that are heading the judging area, right? So that's how all of this got started. So it started a long time ago, but we just now starting to address it and really talk about the issues and what could be better about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen scores. I mean, when we do competitions, I like to go and taste everybody's dish and see what everybody makes. And I've tasted stuff that has absolutely blown me away, and then has just gotten absolutely train wrecked on scoring. And I mean, and I think it's just from a lack of understanding what you're doing as a judge. It's not about what you like; it's about what's executed. How did they execute this? And you may have to. I'm telling you, me and Barbecue Brand judged the Holly Beach Crab Festival, and the first dish I got that I judged had cucumbers. I don't like cucumbers at all. Not my thing. I'm not a cucumber fan. I've tried it, but you know what? From what it did, that dish I believe won second place. I scored it very highly. It was a watermelon slice with cucumbers, some type of dressing, and crab meat, and it was delicious. I really thought it worked. They used the cucumbers correctly. The cucumbers weren't overpowering. It was a great dish, and I scored it very highly. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of cucumbers, I would have never thought to make that dish, and that's kind of the beauty of it. I wouldn't think to use cucumbers in this way because I don't like them. So.
Right, exactly. So you're not even you don't know because you just you've ignored them. But I guess what it did is it balanced that dish out.
Yeah, it did make sense. You think of like a cucumber actually kind of tastes like a watermelon rind a little bit because it's a related plant. So it tastes a little bit like a watermelon rind, but not quite as tough. It's a lot more tender. So it actually tasted like, it was a really great dish. I thought it was awesome. There was another thing I didn't like. I can't remember what it was. B, you might remember.
Probably the
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
I don't like Bloody Marys at all. I don't like Bloody Marys. I've never drank a Bloody Mary. But, we had a Bloody Mary for the appetizer, and it won. And, I tasted it, and I tasted the flavor profile of the Bloody Mary. Was there a good spice to it? Did it have the tomato taste? Was it nice and balanced? And I tasted it. I said, this is a good Bloody Mary. Now, would I drink it? No. But the flavors were good, and I can understand. And it also had soft-shelled crab and soft-shelled shrimp. It was actually a beautiful dish. It really was.
Wow. Like that's what I don't think people outside of Louisiana understand the presentation and the stuff that goes on in some of these things, especially down here with what happens with seafood. Just with, and I've seen all kinds of stuff here lately on some of our friends on social media of what were they, like fried shrimp fritters with the stuff that's but it's the claw, the head.
Oh
and
yeah, the
all,
spider. Yeah.
Spider. That's it. That's
Yes.
it. I've never had that. I've never had that, but I want it.
It's fantastic. It's like soft shell shrimp. I think it's want to be biological or correct. I think that's the thorax, but you know, who knows?
Okay, there we go.
That doesn't roll off the tongue very well, though.
We don't call them fried shrimp thoraxes. We call them shrimp spiders. So they're actually really good. The closest thing I can relate it to, it's like soft shelled crab. It's like a soft shelled shrimp.
Right.
Very light in flavor. The flavor is not a strong, just a good shrimp flavor. It's really good.
Yeah, I've got to try some. I know that I will at some point. There's no, it's going to happen for sure. Would you say that one of the things is, and I would say based off of y'all's podcast, if y'all haven't checked out their latest podcast, any of their podcasts, they're all great, but the latest one talks specifically about judges. We're going to just kind of skirt around the top of that tonight, but if you really want to dive in to everything, y'all go and listen to that podcast. It's one of the best podcasts of any form that I've heard in the last couple of years, and I'm being dead serious, for real.
Aww.
It was eye-opening, like it really was. Of course, I'm a foodie and all of that, and I kind of feel like I'm a new little baby in this food game with all of you guys, and I'm just reporting it. I don't really know how I got here beyond I love to eat, and I like to talk about food. I mean,
that's all you need.
That's the thing, Tig. You just got to keep trying stuff. You know, like things you don't even like want. I mean, like that's the advantage of me living in Houston, is I've got to branch so far outside of what normally I would find where I'm from. You know, I've tried all kinds of food, man. You can talk anything, Persian food, Turkish food, Bosnian food, which is actually really good, but very not anything crazy. And you kind of find these connections between all the foods you try. You know, they do different things, but you know, there's a similarity in things that you can learn. And you know, Thai food, Vietnamese food, Indian food, Malaysian food. I mean, we've tried pretty much everything. You know, there's a billion different types of Chinese cuisine. There's Szechuan, there's Cantonese, there's Chengdu, there's all kinds of things that you can try. So you just have to go out there and try, and then you'll find things that you like, and then you find things that you don't. I mean, it's just that simple.
Right,
exactly. It's like, you know, that's not really my thing, but I could see how somebody would like it, you know, and then you find some things that'll absolutely blow you away. It's like, wow, I never even thought this would be good.
I'll tell you, the beauty of living in Houston is you have all of the blend of everything. You have Mexico and Mexican influence. You have all of Texas and the barbecue and the heart and soul of Texas. You got that. You have Louisiana that is a huge presence in that part of Texas for sure. And there's all of that. I think Houston is an underrated food city because of everything that you just said. And I don't know if people would say that underrated.
Oh, it's
but really and truly, I think it is underrated. I don't think it gets its flowers that it deserves.
It's one of the best food cities in the country. It really is.
It really is. Yeah.
It's especially, I mean, and you got everything. You've got every culture you can possibly imagine. Really big Asian. It's the biggest, I think it's the biggest Chinatown in the entire Southeast.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
you won't find better Chinese food. You'll have to go to like an East Coast city like New York or Los Angeles or San Francisco to get a Chinese food or Asian food that's equal to that. I mean, it's the best in the state of Texas and the entire Southeast, all the way up to the, entire South. I would say it's probably the most diverse. And then we have a big Middle Eastern community here. We have a large African community here. So Nigerian food, Ethiopian food, just anything you could possibly imagine. Eastern European food, it's all here.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It really is overwhelming. You could eat at a different place every day of the year, and you'll find 365 days, and you'll find good everywhere, every place you go.
And would have barely scratched the surface.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
I love that. I love it. Well, kind of going back to y'all's podcast and how it really dove into judging. Of course, look, bad judges, no training, the best dish going home early, like y'all just said. Let's kind of talk about that. What's the most ridiculous judging experience that y'all have witnessed or that you've heard of?
Just this
recent.
year?
I know. Who wants to tell this one? We know where it was at.
Casey,
It was in
let
Texas.
Casey go. Let
It was
Casey
in
go.
Texas. It was in Texas. I'll tell you
Let
that.
Casey go.
Yeah, so it was last month actually. So that experience actually sent us into the tailspin of, okay, we've been waiting to do this topic. This is the time to do it because it upset us all so very much.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we did talk about it on that podcast. And basically, this gumbo was perfect.
Let me
Everything
interject real
about
quick. This is a world champion gumbo cook.
yeah, world champion. Yeah,
World champion gumbo cook. Like one of the best in the Chance is probably one of the best gumbo cooks he's the one of the best gumbo cooks in America.
Yeah.
Period. It's a
Okay.
fact. That's not up for argument. He is.
yeah. Chance Rion with what is it? Born on the Bayou.
Yeah, born on the Bayou. Yeah, one of the best gumbo cooks in the entire country.
Yeah, and he got his scorecard back, and someone gave him a 1 on texture. A 1.
A 1.
Now,
That
now, dude, so disrespectful. Like, it was the most disrespectful thing I have ever seen in the judging, community. Basically, like I've never, and to say like. I just don't even understand. Did they mean to write an 11? Because this gumbo was perfection. Like we didn't have any. All there was gumbo juice at the bottom of the pot, and I was scooping it out and drinking it. It was so good.
I think how many gallons of gumbo was that? Was it 10 or 15?
It was 15. It was a 15-gallon gumbo.
15-gallon gumbos, and there was zero. Precisely
listen,
zero left.
And listen, it was one of those. It was one of those gumbos where whenever you compete, you're a little emotional about it, right? Everything that you put out,
Yeah,
that's your baby.
Yeah.
It's your baby.
Right.
This is what I put my time, effort, money, blood, sweat, tears into, right?
Mhm.
But when you tasted this gumbo, it was everything that you try to achieve when you make a gumbo. Right.
Mhm.
It was looking objectively at it. You tasted it. When I tasted it, I said, okay, this is everything that you would want in a gumbo. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what we got into our episode, is the lack of knowledge of not only how to judge, but the dishes that you're judging as well. And we didn't dive as deep into that. There's a part 2 coming.
Oh,
I'm releasing that a little too soon right now. But if you're still with us, But-
yeah,
but
there's a
that's-
little scoop on
that's
Tigs Bits.
Right.
That's the thing. And we released a little short with KCP saying that exact thing, is that if you're a picky eater, or if you don't exactly know anything about the dishes that you're judging, then you shouldn't be in the judging area.
No.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what happens. That's the byproduct of you not knowing what you're doing, is giving somebody a 1 in something that you don't know a damn thing about.
Correct.
Right.
So that's how we get real hot on this episode. So
Yeah, yes, you do. but in a good way. Somebody like me, who I've not judged, I've not been a judge in a food competition, but I'm starting to be asked to do that. It's an honor, and I take it with pride. I mean, I find that's a badge of honor, and I really want to do a good job. So listening to that helps me. It's like, here's the education on how to be a food judge and how you should go into that event by not talking in the room when you're doing that. Like, you just handle your business. You don't show emotion. You don't try to influence anybody else. It starts, if it's the worst dish you've ever had in your life, and it's a 7, and it's
Right.
it may be a 6 if you have to, but
Hashtag
for
not
the
a 1.
but not a 1. Not a win. It texture and gumbo, like what was it? Was it all gelled up? That would be
No,
the
it's-
only
it's-
way
it's-
that you
it's-
could give it a 1. It would have to be like gel or jello.
No. Go watch my short. I'll tell you exactly what a 1 is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what a 1 is.
That's exactly what a 1 is.
Like
That's-
that had to be when I heard that and Chance told me that it was a 1 on texture. I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Right.
The texture of the gumbo was pretty much perfect. I cook a lot of gumbo. I know how to cook gumbo. Chance's gumbo, I'll freely admit, it's better than mine. It is. You know, he has made a dish. I mean, as close to perfection as you could possibly expect out of gumbo.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very consistent. His texture, I could say, if you looked at a gumbo and said if there's a thinness scale, gumbo can be thick or thin. His is probably a tad on. If there was a perfect, it's probably a little bit past medium on thickness. It would be if thickness is perfect. If medium thickness is a 5, you got a 10th or a 1, and medium is like 5. It's probably like a 6. It's a little thicker than some people's gumbo, but it's still correct. It's very correct how it is. So there's nothing to say.
Delicious.
If as far as you go on textures of gumbo and thickness, his is probably on the tad on the thicker side that you could say, but it was pretty much perfect. I mean,
It was. I think it was perfect.
There's nothing that you can say, and that's the thing we're talking about. It's a preference. You can have a preference for thickness on thinness on gumbo, but you can't say a slightly thicker gumbo is wrong. You have to just say, I prefer my gumbo this way, but I can't judge somebody wrong on a thicker gumbo because that's not technically wrong.
Right.
Now you could say if it's like stew, then you could say the texture is wrong. If you could say the roux is not cooked out, you could say the texture is wrong. If you could taste any type of grittiness, the texture is wrong. But you can't say this is thicker than my mama made it, so it's a 1. That is BS, and that's the problem we're having.
That's what we call palate bias, right?
Correct.
When you have a palate bias where you prefer your gumbo more on the thicker side and somebody may prefer it more on the thinner side, right? That's where palate bias comes in here, right? You can't judge something based on how you mama cook it, right?
Right,
Because
exactly.
you have to judge it for what it is, right? And I like to use the hamburger analogy as I put it. You take a hamburger, right? You know what a traditional hamburger, what the components are, right? So when you're judging a hamburger, you're looking at it. Okay, you have the bun, you have the meat, you have whatever condiments, you have cheese, and then you have whatever like vegetables, lettuce and tomato, right? That's a traditional hamburger. So when you're judging that, you're judging each individual component of that hamburger, right? And that's how you have to judge everything. You have to judge it for what it is. Like, is this gumbo too thick? Is it too salty? All these different components you have to take into account, right? You can't just say, well, it's not like my mama's, so it's not right. I'll give it a 2.
Right.
I mean, I had look, both my grandmothers cooked different gumbo. One of my mom's mom, her gumbo was thinner. My dad's mom, her gumbo was thicker. They were both good and both correct. They're just a difference. The slight difference on the style. It's not, one doesn't cancel the other out. Just because they are thinner gumbos doesn't make the thicker gumbo wrong. It just makes it different. So there's a lot of different in food, and not a lot of right or wrong. Things are just done in a different way.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's a fact. We see that every day on social media and comments of how people just lose their mind. I showed that video. Another one that went viral was one of y'all doing the smash burgers. I just used it, and then a clip from one of y'all. I think it was, I don't remember if it was you, Brandon, or you, Brand, who left a comment in there, and then I just read the comment and all hell broke loose over smash burgers.
Well, that's the funny part. We did smash burgers for the judges, but for the public, we were cooking right there. Those weren't technically smash burgers,
right? I know, and that people pointed that out.
We were like, we're not doing smash burgers because we're trying to get burgers out. So doing a smash burger is like, look, we're just getting the burger crispy. We're getting a nice crust, just a standard burger cook. Right, but oh man, people just go off the rails online, man. I mean, it really is.
It's fun.
I was like, oh my god, it's like the thing with I comment on stuff on Facebook and people are like, why are they putting eggs in gumbo? I'm like, people were poor back in the day.
Yeah.
So like people back in the day did not go to the store and pick up a 12 pack of chicken thighs. They went out to the backyard, killed the chicken, and that was the only chicken going into that gumbo. And you got some eggs. Guess what? That's going in there too.
Going in there. Yeah.
This is all poverty food, man. It's like people are doing the most with the limited means they have. That's it.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I don't know, and back in the day, gumbo was usually made with a rooster too. So
yeah, whatever. It was whatever protein was around.
Precisely.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, we learned how to make a beef and okra gumbo from one of our friends, and that's because they had beef. They had beef, so they traded something, I can't remember what it was, for beef, and that's what they would make. They make beef and okra gumbo when they got beef in. So it's just a different style. Is it wrong? No, it's just different.
So that's one of the things that we wanted to really drive home with the podcast, is that our opinions come last, right? Opinion. We've all heard the term opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one.
That's right.
There's an abundance of information on the internet. Everybody has a voice these days. That's the reason that we started to go out and do competitions, so we can show that we can cook and not just talk about the things that we talk about. But at the same time, for the podcast, we always give historical aspects of the things that we're talking about. We like to go into the history and the why. I'm really big on the why with barbecue. Whenever I do my videos for barbecue, or if I'm teaching somebody in a class or whatever the case is, I need you to understand why you're doing what you're doing, because everything makes sense, right? So we want to make sure that we're giving the why, the historical aspects of what we're talking about, and then we give the facts about food, and then we get into the opinions and preferences, because that's on the backside of that, right?
Right.
You need to understand everything about food, the technical aspects of it. Is it technically right? Right? Are you cooking something and is it technically right?
Yeah,
if it is, then the preferences come later, and then you can determine, A from B from C. But other than that, we want to give you the real. We want to give you the facts about everything that's happening, especially because we're such a prideful people here in Southern Louisiana. We are very prideful, and a lot of times we don't understand why. We don't know why our mama did it the way that we did it. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why she made that gumbo the way that she made it. Yeah, because she had something that she was growing in the garden and she put in her gumbo.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly.
That's why she had that shit in there.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then that's what you have to realize, is your traditional family recipes are built on your grandmother's, your mother's. It's built on their preferences. So if they don't like something, it's not going in there. Somebody was allergic to seafood, it ain't going in there.
Right.
Like, so it's all built on preferences and what you had access to. If you had access to pork or chicken or shrimp, or that's what's going to be what you're going to cook.
Right. Makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Casey, you've talked about heat versus spice. Why do you think that's so misunderstood?
Well, people, I guess where you have to start, like if you're talking about heat, and oh man, you might have stumped me a little bit here. I'm a little bit nervous with this question. So spice is going to be more like your deeper flavors, right? Like if you want something that has spice, it's going to be like a warm, for instance, like the different types of cayenne, right? So you have cayenne, like let's say everybody knows the Zatarain's cayenne, right? That stuff has a zing to it like no other, right? So that is more of your heat, more than anything, right? But then you have other spices that have more like warm, like, I don't know.
Well, I think I can kind of explain it a little bit. Heat is something that you get very, very front end. Snap. You taste it right away. You're like, wow, that's hot.
Yeah, there you go.
That's heat. Spice is something. Spice is something more subtle. It's a back end spice. So if you have like a really like a really hot, like cayenne's more is kind of like a back end spice, but a really hot cayenne's got the front end and the back end to it. So you can taste both of them. But a lower heat cayenne will be more on your back end of your spice. And then spice is also other flavors, black pepper has a spice to it, a heat to it, but it's slower than red pepper. And then you have other
Right.
things like, if you take like a habanero, it's got a lot of heat, but it's also got a lot of fruity notes to it. So it's got,
Mhm.
it's got a citrusy quality to it. There's so many ways to build spice. I think spice is heat with complication, if you could say that.
I like that.
That's a good
Yeah,
way to
yeah.
put that. That's a good way to put
Absolutely.
that, B, because my kids are the same way. Like I'll give my kids like the spiciest boudin, or I'll make some rice and gravy. At this point, I make rice and gravy, and sometimes it's hot, and they'll just tear it up, but never say anything about it. But then I give them something that I make with a little bit more spice in it. You might have a little bit of chipotle or something else, or something a little bit warmer, like KCP said. And then they're like, "Ooh, this is spicy." I'm like, "This ain't hot. This ain't hot at all." So like, they're more sensitive to spice than they are heat. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Chipotle
That makes
is a good example of a spice, kind of a spice. It's got it's hot, it's got spice and heat, but it's more complicated than just heat. Straight
Right.
heat,
Yeah.
I think of something that's just like, it just hits you like that. But it also depends what you pair things with too. So if something has a lot of acid, and like you do like a salsa that's really hot and it's really acidic, that's going to hit your palate
It's gonna hit
differently
you. Right.
than something,
Yeah.
let's say like that has more fat in it. That's gonna like, say if you did a spicy, think of this, spicy queso versus a spicy salsa. That salsa, you're gonna taste that spice right off the bat. And as
Yeah.
a queso, you're gonna taste that and you're gonna be like, that's good. And then it'll hit you
And
slow
then-
because the
yeah.
fat kind of
Yeah.
slows it down. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's what I would think. Like it's kind of like it's like spice is like heat with complication.
Heat with complication.
Heat with
That's a new
complication.
one. Man, we
Tag
got
that.
new terms coming out. I like
Yeah.
I love
Hashtag.
When we say spice, we mean something deeper than heat. We mean more
Yeah.
flavor than just heat. When we say spice, we want the other notes. We want the warm notes of the spice, the not just the heat, but the pepperiness of it. The kind of, because you think of like some of these things have really interesting flavors. They can be fruity, or like if you like black pepper has just such an interesting flavor. It's got heat to it, but it's got more than that. Whereas
Right.
something like you could taste like a pepper that's really hot, that just, a jalapeno, for example, has its own flavor with heat. So not only does it taste hot, but it tastes like a jalapeno. A habanero tastes like a habanero. It's hot, but it tastes like a habanero. I can taste habanero in anything. I say, oh, that's habanero, because I
Yeah.
can taste that citrusy, fruity quality to it. And that's why mango habanero salsa, peach habanero salsas are so popular. It actually accentuates the fruitiness of it. So
That
Very
makes
good.
sense. Yeah. The one thing, everybody, if you're not hungry by the end of this show, then something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
I didn't eat before this show, which is a mistake. I'm starting to think maybe that was a mistake, but I'm going to pound some tacos when I'm done with this.
what a nice spicy salsa. There you
Hey.
go.
There
you
it
go.
is. See,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go. Barbecue brand, you've judged before. I know you mentioned that in that deal. Oh, Lord.
Oh
Y'all-
boy.
Are y'all still there? Wow.
Bring the
Yeah.
thunder, baby.
Did you hear that?
Yes,
my
I did.
my screen went black and everything. I don't know. Wow,
Oh.
that's crazy. It's storming here in the Red Stick.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're back. They're trying to get us. I think this is the ghost of Blasey. My friends that follow the show, it's the ghost of Blasey and his internet issues. Wow, that was wild. So, Brand, you've judged before. How often are judges unqualified to be in these deals?
So here's the thing. So I have judged, like I said, I've been doing competition barbecue for a long time, and I've judged competition barbecue. That scene in the judging area is strict. It is very strict. Don't talk. Don't make a face. They tell you how to judge. They tell you what you're judging on, how to assess different things, appearance, texture, taste, all of these things. And it's a little bit more structured. What I've noticed is that some of these other open type of competitions, when it comes to like black pot, and then other different types of foods in those judging areas, it seems like they're trying to pull people in. to judge, right? I need judges. I need people to come in and judge this, but the education is not there on teaching these people how to judge, because these people may have never judged before, and it's hard. Okay, so I want everybody to understand, and I've said this in our last episode. We're talking a lot of stuff about judging and how judging is done wrong, but I need y'all to understand that I'm not trying to say that this is easy and you're supposed to just know this just like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Judging is hard. I am a big foodie. Obviously, I cook on a professional level. B cooks. Casey cooks. We've all judged, and it's not easy when you're in the hot seat in that moment. So you need guidance, and I've just seen so many different scores for different types of food that is just so wrong. So like in the past episode, I've said that, you know, if you have a scale of 1 to 10, and if something is too salty, it's not a 10 to a 1 too salty. I guarantee it's not. I've tasted a lot of competition food, and I don't think I've had a 1 yet. If something is too salty, it's probably a 10 to a 9 or a 10 to an 8 too salty. If something is too sweet, it's probably a 10 to a 9 or a 10 to an 8 too sweet. Yeah. And then you go from there. You have to think of that scoring as just like if you were in school, like 100-point scale. You know, we've all been to school. We've all had tests before. If you have a quiz that you take and you get a 4 on that quiz, you suck. You don't know any of the material on this test. You failed, son. You failed, son.
Yes, you did.
So if you give somebody a 4, that means that they went to make something, and they went to make you a taco and they made you a burger. Or something.
You screwed the whole thing.
And then this brings up another.
That's how you have to think about that when you're judging. We judged. Me and B judged this past weekend at the Crab Festival. Nobody, and they had some bad dishes, but they had some really good dishes. Nobody scored less than a 6 in my book.
No, I didn't score anybody lower than a 7. I thought everything was edible. Some things, the execution, like your concept was good, but your execution failed. So I have to judge on your execution. And this is also another point for anybody hosting a competition. Black pot, where it's completely open, there must be a description from the team of what their dish is. Because to be honest with you, I'm not pumping myself up, an above average person on food knowledge, I can identify more dishes than most people, but some people cannot. And the last thing you want is to be somebody jarred by something that we don't know what this is. I don't know what it is. So there needs to be some type of expectation set, not just a blind box. So there has to be a description of the food in an open competition. For barbecue, no, I'm judging ribs. Well, it's ribs. And it could be any type of ribs. It could be spare ribs. It could be baby backs. It could be St. Louis. But you should be able to identify those 3. And a rib is a rib. A brisket is a brisket. Chicken is chicken. But when I come with somebody doing a crab competition, a soft shell crab, I had soft shell crab, and the next dish is crab stew. So you see, these are wildly different things. So
totally different.
There has to be a description on these competitions. Open competitions have to have a description of what the food is. And the bottom line is you have to trust the integrity of the people hosting the competition. People say, oh, people could cheat. Well, yeah, they could, but is it really worth it? I mean, I can invent any conspiracy I want. I can say, oh, it was a conspiracy because I lost. Oh, it's just rigged. I don't have any proof of that. I'm just making stuff up. But it has to have a description if it's open. If you're open competition, you need to let the teams tell people what their dish is, so they're expecting something. Yeah. So if you, especially even in a gumbo competition, if I say an open gumbo competition, well, I could get any kind of gumbo. I could get seafood gumbo. I could get okra gumbo. I could get a filet gumbo. I could get roux gumbo. I could get everything I want. But I need to have a description of what this is, so an expectation is set for the person. And the person in open competitions where people are just doing wild stuff, they may not actually know what's coming from. Like, what is this? You know?
Right. Yeah. Should judges be tested or certified in some kind of way? Maybe they are in some cases. I don't know.
Ooh, mate. Should they, Casey?
Well, I mean,
that's a very interesting question, Casey.
Some leagues are, if you're definitely doing
Stay tuned. We have some exciting things coming down the pipe when it comes to that. So definitely.
If you're talking about like I think the big league CBA and for barbecue, Championship Barbecue Alliance, and what's the one for Kansas City Barbecue Society, right? I think KCBS.
Yeah, KCBS.
Mm-hmm.
All have trained qualified judges. So does the Steak Cookers Association as well.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, judges, I think they should be certified. Some kind of training on some level, not just like, we're having a competition at a campground and we don't have enough judges. Like, let's get some people and just tell me what you think. It's disrespectful to the teams, because there's a lot of money that goes into these competitions.
A lot of money. People putting their heart into it, man.
So I'll say this, especially in the barbecue world, we hate certified judges. So that is not the word that we're gonna use, but I'll say knowledgeable, and that is as far as we're gonna go. Stay tuned.
There you go. Well, I've got a feeling that you're going to answer this in that I know you're talking about, hinting about. Do you find what makes a judge credible in your eyes? Do you answer that in this episode, or can you answer that now?
I can tell you what. I can tell you what doesn't make one credible. Being a social media personality does not make you a qualified food judge. I'm gonna say it.
Somebody had to.
It doesn't.
To say,
I
agree with you.
Start with this. Do you like food? For one, and do you like to be like, you have to, when you have to go into these competitions, you have to be willing to have your expectations challenged on what is good or not. And then sometimes you may have to judge something you don't like. I don't like Bloody Marys, but it sure got mostly 9s and 10s. There was not a score below 9 and 10 on that dish, because that dish was absolutely perfect, or close to it, almost perfect. So even though you will never see me order a Bloody Mary. I am not trying to recover from my wine hangover on Saturday night. Now, I'm not a 50-year-old woman trying to recover from my wine hangover at brunch. I'm just not. So it's just not my thing, man. I'm a whiskey drinker primarily. That's what I like to drink, right. But it's just not my thing. But I have to taste that Bloody Mary. I have to say, the taste in this Bloody Mary. What is it? Is it good? I said, the flavors are good. There's a good spice to it. It's a little salty. It's got some pepper to it. It's got a kick. It's got some heat. It made sense. I could see somebody who liked something like that would like it.
So perfect. What you just said right there, because expectations. Right. Judging is all about expectations. I see this. This is a Bloody Mary, because I don't like Bloody Marys either. Me and B in the same boat.
There you go.
I see this
I'm
Bloody
in there
Mary
too. I don't like them either. Well,
I don't like Bloody Marys, right? I'm looking at this Bloody Mary and I say, okay, my expectations automatically, this is a Bloody Mary. I know I'm not a picky eater, but I also know what a Bloody Mary is.
Right.
Does this execute what the cook decided that they wanted to do? Did they execute a Bloody Mary? Okay, they did. All right. Let me taste this. Let me determine if this tastes like a Bloody Mary. If I liked Bloody Marys, would this be a good Bloody Mary?
Precisely.
That's a very hard thing to do.
Right.
But we did it. If I like Bloody Marys and I taste this Bloody Mary, would I like it? If I liked it.
If you like it, right.
That's a hard ass thing to do. But if you signed up for this, I didn't twist your arm. I didn't put a gun to your head. You signed up to come here. I signed up to go judge.
It gets real meta real quick. If I like Bloody Marys, would I like it? This is kind of like some.
That's what I had to do.
And exactly what I did. He said, if I like Bloody Marys,
I said, you know what? I would. If I like Bloody Marys, I would like this one.
I would like this one.
You have to do that. You signed up for that.
It
I
was
just
just
trying
like,
to make you sign up for that.
yeah, right.
Okay, boys. Okay, settle down. Settle down.
You have to do this every week, don't you, Casey? You've got to keep them
All
in
the
line.
time. All the
love it.
time.
Well, what's the number one? And this will be it for the judging stuff. What's the number one change that you'd make to how competitions are judged? If you could do your little magic wand, what would you do?
I think we all have our different opinions. Mine would be is that you have to have a chief judge who's very knowledgeable about food, who knows how to taste stuff. And if you are to score something below a certain mark, you have to call the chief judge to taste it to see if something's wrong. And if it's really wrong, you just hit people with a DQ, disqualified. Don't even say it. There's no reason to embarrass anybody. Say disqualified. Something's raw. Disqualified. You're just DQ'd. You're not scored at all. You're DQ'd for technical reasons. You know, you don't have to embarrass anybody by giving them a low score, because some of these scores are published and they could see, man, this person got zeros. Man, that person cooked. These people, a lot of these people who cook, sell stuff, they're dependent on their small businesses. You know, they're selling seasoning or anything, and there's no need to hurt anybody's business, because sometimes stuff just goes bad, guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just go bad. I mean, like, man, I've had to pivot a bunch of times to cooking competitions, and fortunately, most of the time I saved my butt, but I have messed up, dude. I messed up cooking ribs for rodeo, for Houston rodeo. I messed up cooking ribs. I overcooked my ribs for a competition that doesn't like super tender ribs, and I got absolutely trashed in the scorecards on it.
Really?
and this is the thing. A month before that, I got 7th place out of 135 at Humble Rodeo for cooking the same rib.
Make it make sense. I have a guy who comes on our show, JD Marsh, a pretty good bit, at least a couple times a year, and he does the Houston Rodeo. He does some of those barbecue competitions.
That's a tough one.
He says
man.
the exact same thing, that he just has no idea what to do with ribs anymore.
It is. This is the most. I don't think there's a more brutal competition than Houston Rodeo. It is one time a year. There's a moving target that nobody knows. Nobody knows what to cook. It changes every year. But all you got to do is throw it out there, man. That's all you can do.
That's it. I mean, that is all that you can do. Let's talk a little bit about y'all's podcast. Beyond, of course, we opened up the judges episode and continued. I mean,
it's a
we
good
can talk
topic.
about that. It is a great topic. I mean, it really, really is. And I think that there needs to be more and more education of the expectations of a judge, and maybe the events, the people who are hosting these events or putting them on, maybe they need to understand that too. This is an outsider perspective. I'm not naming anybody whatsoever, because I've seen hundreds of different competitions going on around the state, and watching just from just a casual observer. And I do see that, number one, what you said, Brandon, with just let's get some social media influencers to come in and be the judge. While yes, that's how I've been discovered a little bit in a couple that I'm going to, but at the end of the day, I don't think every single person out there has the best interest of potentially the competitors. If you're not sequestered away from knowing who's cooking what, then, and you can make a walkthrough somewhere, it's hard to not look, or it's hard for somebody that you know to not be like, hey man, I'm cooking such and such. I don't want to know what you're cooking.
Right.
You know, I mean, stuff like that. I think that if you're going to be a judge, you need to be sequestered and just be as far away as possible from any of the competitors, so you can truly at least have a blind taste test, at least the playing field's level at that point, you know.
And you want the judges to enjoy the competition too. That's why my suggestion is we've done this before. Get the judging done early. Have the turn-ins early. Let them judge, and then let them go. And then it's done. And they can do their thing. They can do their thing. If they're social media personalities, they help promote other people who are there. They bring people in. So that's all good, but get it done early. Don't get it done at, as like the middle, the middle of the competition where everybody wants to kind of hang out. Cause a lot of these people are, they're judging their friends, and they want to go hang out with their friends, but
Exactly. They want to have some Fireball.
Precisely. There you go.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Terry says that this is quite a different perspective he's learning about. There's some serious things here, guys. It is. Food's a serious game, and these are serious competitors.
People put their heart into it, man. They really do.
Yeah.
It's really,
it's all about respect.
Yeah.
It's respect. You have to judge something with these cooks, in mind. You have to respect it's an art form, right? It's your own art form. So you have to just respect them on that kind of level,
It's also deeply personal too. It's a very personal when somebody talks about your food, if they love it, one of the biggest compliments we've ever gotten is some of our competitors coming up to shake our hands and saying how awesome our food was. There's no higher compliment than that.
Yeah.
And it's when you taste, and when somebody tastes your food and says, "Man, I haven't had this since my grandmother made it, and she passed away years ago," that's something
that
special.
Touches you.
It does,
right?
It does. Because we're all connected. We all, some things, our families cook different things, but some things we cook the exact same. So that's the beauty of food. It brings people together, but it's very, very personal, and people can get pretty easily offended with their food.
Oh yeah, for sure. Have you guys got any feedback from some of these other cooks that are out there competing with y'all, or some of the stuff that y'all have addressed in these things recently? Have you gotten any feedback from any of them? Maybe they're too scared to say some of the stuff that y'all are saying.
I think they are, right. I think a lot of people have been scared for a long time, and people have spoken to their friends about their scorecards. I can't believe I got a 2 on this. Like every contest, everybody's having that same conversation amongst themselves. But the person putting on the contest, no one ever says anything to them. No one ever says anything to the judges. No one's ever brought this up before. And with us having our own experiences, with me with barbecue for the past 5 years, with us over the past year doing competitions, and then us seeing some of our friends doing competitions and getting essentially disrespected and screwed on scorecards, it was just one of those things that just needed to be addressed. And I'm so glad that we've been able to bring light to it. But my thing is that I don't ever want to just bring up a problem and just shit on it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There needs to be solutions. So we're definitely working on one of those solutions, but part of the solution is education. Is education,
right?
And some of the things that we're talking about today, and how you can respect the cooks at these competitions. If you are a social media influencer, if you are someone that get asked to judge a competition, just know that whenever you go in, as much as possible, we're all human. It's like I said, judging is hard. We're all human. But when you go into that judging area, try to understand that the cook has put in their time, money, effort, blood, sweat, tears, arguments, all of these things into being here, and just respect them. Respect them on that card, right? I'm not saying give them leniency on things that are technically wrong, but just respect what they have done that day. Because they put their heart into it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. No doubt. No doubt. Well, this all brings us, this has been fascinating, and we can go on forever, honestly.
Yeah.
But this comes to my favorite whole segment of this show, the Tiggs Blitz. It is the Tiggs Blitz. It's just rapid fire, no filters, no thinking, just vibes. That's what we're going to do, and straight answers. And whoever wants to start, feel free to jump in. I'm going to ask 6 or 7 questions, and y'all give me your answer. Here's number 1. What is the most overrated dish that people keep entering in competitions?
Pastelaya.
Or as our dear friend Rusty says, Cajun hamburger helper.
Is that what he calls it? That's hilarious. That's kind of makes sense. That totally makes sense. What about y'all? What about you, Casey and Brand? Same thing, same answer.
I would probably say pastelaya for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna go with that just to.
Like I can say, look, I'll say about pastelaya, it can be. There's very few great ones and a whole lot of mediocrity out there. It's just okay.
I like it because I'm a big boy. You know what I'm saying?
He's a pasta head, but
I'm 6'1", 280. I like pasta. Pasta, rice, bread, all that. I like all that.
But you have to just say it's pasta, so it's a dish. Like pasta can overcook just like that. So you could go from perfect to not so perfect real quick. So
in a heartbeat.
I've never had anything that's been like, oh my god, that's the worst thing I ever had. But I prefer jambalaya. Just saying.
There you go. There it is. Worst food sin: dry ribs or bland gumbo.
Ooh, I'd say plain gumbo. I say because the gumbo doesn't have enough salt, it's inedible. That is just a bowl of just absolute nothing. I mean, just
flour and oil.
Yeah.
It's all you're gonna taste is bitter and grease. That's all you're gonna taste.
At least you could repurpose dry ribs. You know, you could always make you some queso, mix that in there.
Nachos,
put a bunch of barbecue sauce.
Exactly.
If those ribs are dry but well seasoned, pick them off the bone, chop it up, throw it in some queso, make a taco, throw it in breakfast. Perfect. That underseasoned gumbo, bland gumbo, you can't do anything with that.
You just
you done with that.
As Hoss says, you got to toss that in the long grass.
Yeah. So throw that in the long grass, like Hoss said. Yeah, for sure.
That's gotta go.
You've kind of said something. Well, you didn't really say this exactly, but you've said some things that you don't like. What's one food that you secretly hate, but you pretend to like it on camera on something that you do for social media? Tell the truth.
Man, I don't fake for nobody.
That's what I'm talking about. It was a setup.
If I don't like it, y'all gonna know.
I believe that.
But also,
y'all already know me by now.
We also don't crap on people who do like it.
Right.
You know, it's just not your thing. I mean, everybody's got to have their own peccadillos, man. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, you like some things, you don't like others. But I'm not going to pretend I like something when I don't.
Right. I have to say, I denied this for so long. I tried it, but I can't hop on the Brussels sprouts bandwagon. I just can't do it. You won't see me fake it either. I tried to like them.
I can't either. I'm with you, KCP. I've had some. The only ones that I've had that I could eat, that I could tolerate, they were put in crawfish. They were in a crawfish boil, and they got so mushy, and they had all the season, and then it didn't have that bitterness that they have. I've had them done in ovens and bacon grease and all the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And they look like they should just be amazing. I love the way they look, everything about them. And then I have a bite. I'm like, oh, my God, no.
Exactly.
I'm a little chefy. What about a reduced balsamic glaze with a little feta? And
I've had them like that. Okay, and better. Edible, but I mean, but I would try it again if you cook it, dude. I promise you, I would.
Hell,
I gotta feel it. You could do it.
If you don't like them deep fried, you're not gonna like them because they're awesome.
I've never had them deep fried. Now I'm interested. That I'm willing to try.
That sounds a little different right there.
That sounds a little different already. I think I can do that. This kind of goes back to what we were saying. If you lose a competition, but you know that your food was better, do you speak up or do you let it go?
Well, I want to see our scorecard, first of all. I want to see what went down because I want to see if somebody commented something or what, because a lot of times I really enjoy the constructive criticism of it all, right? We can always do better if we're not improving ourselves and we're not growing, right? So yeah, I definitely want to see the scorecard just to start off, but there might be some complaining.
Yeah, it's like you might complain about it, but ultimately you just have to let it go. And
Yeah.
with your food. Hey, look, a cook knows when they screw up. So
Right.
if you screwed up, you screwed up. It happens, man. There's sometimes you just don't hit on it. So you just have to kind of just move on with it. But
So
don't
yeah.
never relish in your successes too much or beat yourself in your defeats too much either. So there's got to be a balance.
So
You
I
have to have
screwed up.
success to build your confidence, and you have to have failures to check your ego.
So I'll say this,
Go ahead.
and this is a rookie mistake: is chasing judges.
Yep.
If you cook in a competition and you get judged, what you feel unfairly by one or two people, then you can't really change a whole lot of things if your dish was technically right and it was good, because that person may have not been very knowledgeable about judging, and they just their preferences took over. It wasn't what their mama made, and then they gave you a low score. You can't chase judges, because the next competition is not going to have the same judges whatsoever. It's going to be a completely different panel.
It's also you have to look at your consistency with judging too, because if you get scorecards and judging, and like I cooked it for that Humble Rodeo competition. I cooked pork, and I got 2 perfect scores, and I got other scores that were not that great. And I said, I know what pieces these guys had, and I know what pieces those guys had. I said all my pieces weren't consistent, so I was like, what can I do about it? I had to turn in, I said, man, some of these pieces came out real dry. I made burnt ends out of a pork butt. And some of the pieces just came out not that great. And I said, well, I got to box it anyway. So
Yeah.
I said, I don't have enough good pieces, so I'm just going to hope. But I got 2 really good scores, and the rest of them were like, it's not that great.
But you knew
You just
why.
live in the-
You
Exactly.
kind of knew that going in. Like
I knew going in, but that did tell me one thing. It told me my flavor profile. I got really good scores on flavor, but then I got some on the bad scores. I got some texture ones that were bad. So I was like, well, fair enough.
There you go. There you go.
It was a total. I came in that one total shot in the dark. I tell this about CBA competitions. I detest the pork turn-in. I hate it. I think it's so ridiculous and silly. People cutting 5 money muscles where they take 5 pork butts and pull out 5 little muscles and cook them. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, it does taste good. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I think that the amount of effort that goes into this, I'm like, this is just absolutely ridiculous, man.
Yeah, totally. Last question. This is podcast related, since we're doing a podcast with podcasters.
Inception
podcast.
That's it. Who's your dream guest to stir the pot with?
Chef John False.
Yep.
That's what I was going to say.
Jumped out with that one
because we're a huge fan of his book. What is this? His book called? Yeah, Casey.
The Encyclopedia of Cajun and Creole Cuisine.
Man, if you have not read that book, if you have not seen that book, that is an absolutely fantastic work of like just culinary history.
Ooh.
That is such a great.
Yes, I know this book.
That is a fantastic book. I mean, it is just so well broken down. I mean, and it's got traditional recipes. There are things like red bean gumbo that you never even heard about, and why that came and why that's a thing. I mean, there's such. It goes so deep into the Louisiana food culture because it's so complicated. It's probably the most complicated food culture in the United States. The origin, you got African influence, Spanish influence, French influence, German, English, all this kind of crazy
Canadian,
Italian. There's
everything.
There's just this huge mashup of everything, and I'd say that's just an awesome book, man. It's one of my absolute favorites.
So Chef John Foltz.
There it is. That was an easy answer. I thought it was a lot easier. I thought I'd have 3 different answers there.
I grew up watching him on TV, man. That's kind of like what made me love cooking, is watching him cook on TV. I said, this is just so cool, man. So,
I bet you this is going to happen at some point.
I
think
hope
I know
so.
what clip I need to put out on social media.
Hey.
I'd love to have him.
I mean, give it a shot. Who knows?
Hey.
Who knows?
It's
I
true.
love it. I love it. Well, y'all, look, this has been as Terry said, this has been eye opening. We got deep into it. It feels good. I love it. I think we definitely stirred the pot a little bit tonight.
It's been a blast, man. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It has.
It was just fun. You know, we're just out here just trying to, I mean, I really, our podcast is really educational. That's really what we want to do, is really want to educate people. There you go, man.
Yeah.
Here's where the controversy starts.
And to do this kind of stuff, you just have to be fearless. You just have to put yourself out there, put your food out there, put your opinions out there, and the willing to accept criticism. I'm not always right. If somebody's got something to contradict me, say I'm wrong, tell me about it, give me some evidence, so.
Yeah.
But we're out here. We're just trying to make a name and have fun and educate people on the great culture of Louisiana food and food in general too, because we do a lot more than just Cajun cuisine and Creole cuisine. We cover everything.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, where can everybody find y'all? Where can they watch, listen, your podcasts, all that good stuff?
Podcast is on YouTube. All of our videos are on there. We have the majority of our stuff is on YouTube, but we're on all the socials. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. So yeah, check us out. It's Stirring the Pot. No G. STIRRIN apostrophe.
There you go. Look for the caricature. Look for the caricature. That's where we're
at. And worst case, you can always ask Tiggy. I can take you right to them. Y'all are going to want to follow them. You're going to want to listen to their episodes. They're fantastic. And as y'all have heard, this was basically one of y'all's episodes tonight. This is exactly how they do it. I felt like I got to be the one who just asked them questions and just let them go. And that was fun. That's as easy as it gets for me on my end. I love it.
We always have stuff to talk about,
Yeah,
we're talkers. That's for sure.
Same. That's what we do. That's why we're podcasters too.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, y'all stick around for just a second, guys. I'm going to close us out, and I sure do appreciate it. I'll make sure it's just like y'all's Riverside. I'll cut this out in the end. It's like y'all's Riverside. We got to make sure the recording uploads. Y'all know how that goes.
Absolutely.
You know how that goes, but anyhow, appreciate y'all coming on. This was a fun episode. Yeah,
thank you.
Sure. And until next time, we'll see y'all.
I'm a bad guy? How'd that happen? I did everything they told me to.